Okay, so let's work on our main menu. Now, before we begin, I'd like to note that I already added the buttons for our, well, stuff we can do in our game and stuff into our dialogue and our menu already, because otherwise it would just be minutes of watching me type out words because I can't edit videos. So I just like you to keep that in mind. It's just an H box with buttons in it. The buttons are also set to fill, and the text is, well, I made them black and the size of 16. Obviously, these buttons would look better if you had your own buttons, or you could, get rid of the image entirely, but I'm not going to bother. I did the same thing in our menu. It's just an H box button set to fill. Also, I'm not going to do a about or help screen because I don't think anyone actually ever clicks on those. But you could add those if you want. So in our menu, let's add a image for now into the background. Just because I'm assuming that you're doing a 2D game for now, and it's gonna have an image in the background. So set the anchors to fill and fill up the entire screen, but I don't actually have an image, so I'm gonna set the color and opacity to 0. This is just gonna be our background image. Now, depending on what state we're in, we're going to switch between what shows up in our menu. For example, if we're in our save state, then our saves will pop up. Same with our history options, etc. And we can decide what shows up by using a widget switcher here. So let's add that to our canvas panel. I'm going to set it to fill this screen again. Let's make these offsets something like 100 this time. Alright, that works for me, and I'm going to add a image to the widget switcher as the first thing, just because if we don't have anything in here, the other stuff will pop up, and obviously when we're in our main menu, we only want the main menu image to pop up. So this is just going to be an image with color and opacity alpha of 0. And we're also going to add the history to our widget switcher, because, well, we want our history to pop up in our widget switcher if we're in our history. So let's make sure this is a variable. Good. Alright, so let's compile, save this, and in our level blueprint, which we're also not going to use later, but we'll do it for now, we'll do create widgets, and it's going to be a menu, and then add it to viewport. Add to viewport. Hit play, and there our menu is. Now, a couple things. First off, the clicking on these buttons doesn't actually do anything. We'll take care of the start, history, and quit in this also menu in this video, but we'll take care of other stuff later in our own individual videos. Also, our history and codex, also save, pops up, despite the fact that, well, they shouldn't be popping up because we're not in game. So let's take care of that first. Also the back button. So let's go into our menu, into our graph, and we'll create a new function. We'll call this is in game question mark, and it will return a boolean that returns is in game. Now, how are we going to know if we're in game? Well, it's going to be based off if we have a dialog widget, and that dialog widget's dialog context is valid. So, in our is in game, we're going to need to know what our dialog widget is. So let's create a new variable in our menu. We'll call this dialog widget. Its type is going to be wdialog. There it is. Compile, save, and when asked if get dialog widget is valid. Actually, we can just use the other is valid. Here we go. So if it's not valid, we're going to return false. But if it is valid, we're going to check to see if it's dialog context is valid. and we're just going to return whether or not it is valid. So if it is valid, we're in game, and if it is not valid, we are not in game. Compile, save this. So in our event graph, let's make a new function. We'll call, or a new event, custom event. We'll call this, oh, what should we call this? Let's say update button visibility. And then based on if we are in game, let's make this a pure function actually. Pure. Compile, save, back into our event graph. If we are in game, we are going to, well, set a bunch of these set a bunch of these visible or not visible. So the, oh boy, let's see, background image codex button, we need this one. We need the history. We need load. Actually, we don't need load because that's always going to be visible. We need menu. Options is always going to be visible. Quit is always going to be visible. Save. Start will only appear in the main menu. That should do it. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the visibility of these to be visible or not visible, or actually collapsed or not collapsed, but same thing. Let's start with save. We're going to set visibility to visible if it is in game. So true, this will be visible. Menu, we can also plug multiple stuff into this set visibility. We don't have to do one for each of these, so that's convenient. We also want the history, codex, and start will not be visible into our set visibility visible here. And for start, we're going to set this to be not visible. Set visibility to collapsed. You want to make sure you choose collapse, by the way, because collapse will make it so it doesn't take up any space in the layout. Hidden will take up space in the layout, which means that there will be this sort of big empty space where hidden would be, instead of allowing the other buttons to, you know, expand into its, well, what it should be. And if we're not visible, we're going to set these to be collapsed and set this to be visible. Actually, we don't need to do a branch here. Delete this. What we can do instead is drag off our invisibility and say select. We're going to select a visibility based off if we are in game. If we are in game, it will be visible. If we aren't in game, it will be collapsed. So same over here, we'll do select. Based off is in game. If we are in game, this is collapsed, otherwise it is visible. Compile, save, and in our event construct, let's just call update button visibility. We could just, you know, set the visibility in our designer instead of calling this, but you know, it's whatever. Compile and press play. And now we only have start, load, options, back, and quit. So now we also want to get rid of back. But back is going to be dependent on whether we are in the main menu or, well, actually that's about it. Any other option, we would want to have the back option show up. So let's say we are going to get our, oh, where is it? Widget switcher. Wow, I'm actually clicking on it right now. Get widget switcher. We're gonna say get the, I don't remember which one it is. Get active widget index. Here it is. And if you remember, the very first one is our image, which will only show up if we are in our main menu, or yeah, if we're just in our main menu. So if this is equal to 0, then the back button should not show up. So actually, let's go with not equal to 0. Not equals 0, and set the back button visibility back. Set visibility and select. I suppose it doesn't matter either way since we're using the select, but still. So if it's not equal to 0, it will be visible, otherwise it will be collapsed. Let's compile, save, and play again, and now we only have start, load, options, and quit. We can take care of the quit really quick actually, so let's go to our quit and add a onClicked event, and we're just going to say quit game. We're not going to bother asking the player for now if they are they sure they want to quit. We'll do that later, but for now we'll just say quit game. I'm not sure if we actually need to specify player or not. If not specified, player 0 will quit. Okay, so that's fine. We don't have to specify the player. So let's compile, save, play again, and hit quit, and the game quits. What else do we want? Well, we can't do load for now, and we can't do options for now, so let's do start. On our start, onClicked, we will create the what is it called? Dialog widget, and we'll start the test DLG, and participants, well, we need to find our participants. So for now, we're not actually going to do this in the final version of our menu. We are going to make the participant array and expose this to spawn like we did with our dialog widget, or what we used to do with our dialog widget. Participants. Here we go. Compile, save, and plug this into here. And back in our level blueprint, we need to get our participant. Here it is. To array, or sorry, make array. Into our participants, add a pin, and like that. Compile, save, sorry, don't save. Press play, press start, and nothing happens. That's because we never actually told the dialog to come on the screen, so let's add this to viewport. Press play again and press start, and here is our what's it called? Dialog. However, our main menu is still here. You'll notice that the buttons are still visible behind our dialog. So let's take care of that. We will do remove from parent. This will get rid of our main menu. So if we compile and save again, press play, it is no longer there. So let's take care of these buttons now. We'll start with the history, because that will be the easiest one to do. Let's go to our history, onClicked. What we're going to do is we're going to bring back up the main menu. So we need a variable, we need a it's not a reference, a pointer to our main menu. So we'll just call this menu widget, and its type will be W menu object reference. And we can actually expose this to spawn. Compile, save. So back in our main menu, when we create our dialog widget, we can refresh this for one, and add ourselves to this slot. So plug in ourselves to the menu widget here. Back to our history onClicked, what we'll do is, well, first off, we will remove ourselves from parent. So remove from parent. And then we will get our menu widget and tell it to add to viewport. And then we need to tell it to show the menu. Let's compile and save this, and for now we'll just go into our menu and say, actually, we're going to change this later again, but for now we'll just tell our menu widget to get its widget switcher. There it is. And we're going to set its I forgot what it's called again. User focus, nope. not that. Set active widget index, there it is. We're going to set this to 1 because that is what our history was. Compile, save. Also, our history widget, we're actually going to get rid of this in our designer, so get our history widget and delete this because we don't want it showing up here anymore. Obviously that would mess with our add to history over here because we no longer have a history widget. So let's delete this and we can drag off our add entry in the target and just promote this to a variable. We'll call this history widget. And we can also expose this to spawn. So expose to spawn, compile, save this. And back in our menu, once again refresh this dialog widget, and we just grab our history widget from our menu and plug that in there. So if we try hitting play, start and click on history, the dialog now goes away and the history shows up. Also, we need back to show back up here, so when we go to our dialog and on clicked here, we will set we will tell our menu widget to update button visibility. Let's compile and save again, press play, start, history, and now there is start, load options, and back. That is not right. Start should be invisible. Why is this showing up? Here it is. Start if in-game, it should be collapsed. Is in-game, dialog context, dialog widget. I don't think we actually set the dialog widget in our event graph actually. So after we create our dialog widget, we will set the dialog widget in our event graph. Sorry, I forgot to do that. Oh, let's break this link. Break link to set or add to viewport. There it is. And play again. Shoot. Okay. Now play again. Start history, and now save, load history, options, etc. They show up here instead of the other stuff. And our history is also here. If we hit quit, it will quit. Start history, but if we hit back, nothing happens. Also, nothing happens when we click menu. So let's deal with that. In our back button, do a onClicked. We will remove ourselves from parent, remove from parent, and we will get our dialog widget and add that back to parent. Add that back to viewport. Add to viewport. And for the menu, on clicked, we will actually not remove ourselves from parent. We will instead just update, or we will set the widget switcher, set active widget index to 0 again, so it's back on the image for your, well, it's back to the blank image that we're never going to put anything in. And then we will update button visibility. Also, we will set the, we will get our dialog widget and set its dialog context, there it is, to be nothing, so that our is in game knows that we are not in game. So hide this tab, compile, save, and play again. I hate that. Play again, start. Go to our history, go back, we're back to our, what's it called, our dialog, and if we go to, okay, this did not work this time for some reason. Start, history, okay, there it is. If we go to our menu, we're back to our menu. Save, load, and stuff is still here though. Did I forget to update the button visibility? Nope. Update button visibility is based on is in game. If it is not in game, it should return false. There's no dialog. Oh, I know why. It's because we set our we set that dialog context before we update the button visibility. Sorry, that was my fault. Make sure you make sure you set the dialog context first. Otherwise, it would think we're still in game. So break link to that. And now it should work properly. Start, history, menu, and the other options no longer show up, and we can start again and it starts the game over. Okay, is there anything else I wanted to cover in this video? Codecs we're going to do later, skip, auto we're going to do later, same with save and load, quick save, etc. And options will be probably in the next video. So that should actually do for now. And I'll see you in the next video.